Hello and welcome to a new episode of Airport CEO here on the channel. In today's episode we have plenty of things to do, but before we get too far into today's video, if you should end up enjoying this video, why not leave a like? That would be very much appreciated. And of course, if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? That would be absolutely awesome. Alright, last time I talked about that I would like to have the first commercial aircraft coming into our airport within 1 to 2 episodes. So we have still many things we need to do in order to actually be able to get these aircraft into our airport, to facilitate these aircraft. Mainly we need to build a lot of infrastructure that we haven't really focused on yet, because we have so far been very focused on the terminals themselves, but of course there are many other things that need to be done as well. We do also need to hire quite a bit of staff, because so far I haven't hired a single person to this airport, and without any staff, of course, we won't be able to handle any aircraft. So after we have worked a little bit on some access roads so that the GSE that we will need to buy very soon also can actually enter our service roads on our airside, and we have worked a little bit on some of the other infrastructure around the airport, like taxiways. Well, the first thing I really want to focus on here is actually fixing something that has annoyed me for a little while now. Now, obviously, we are trying to recreate Geneva Airport as close as possible to what it looks like in reality. Of course, there are some places where we need to make compromises because it is a game and not real life. But most of what I'm building, of course, I'm basing on, well, recordings and pictures that I have of the airport, but also, of course, mainly muscle memory. So, I mean, I've been to the airport so many times that many of the areas I know rather well. But that does mean that, of course, I can make mistakes. But luckily, I did notice it a while ago, and now I think it is time to fix it. So what are we trying to fix? Well, Geneva Airport has, of course, these 3 small satellite terminals, and these terminals are connected to the main terminal building with a tunnel. Well, not one tunnel, which I have built, but actually 2 tunnels. 2 of these satellite terminals are handling non-Schengen traffic, and those 2 satellite terminals that are handling the non-Schengen traffic are the ones with the jet bridges. They are connected up via 1 tunnel. The 3rd satellite tunnel, which has no jet bridges, is handling Schengen traffic and is connected up with a separate tunnel. So that's, of course, something we need to fix, because well, what we've built so far is just incorrect. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's not exactly as it is in real life. I mean, our satellite terminals are squares, where in real life they are circles. But I mean, at least the basic structure should be more or less the same. So that is, of course, something we need to fix. And that is the first really major thing we want to do in this episode. Now, I don't know yet if we will really handle the first passenger aircraft with luggage as well, but I do know that I will want to start handling luggage as fast as possible, because obviously I do want to see and check that the luggage system that we have built also works correctly. And one major part of that is, of course, then you don't have only outbound luggage, so luggage leaving the airport, but you will, of course, also have luggage that is coming into the airport with the aircraft. And that, of course, means we do very much need to build our baggage retrieval area. Now, I don't really have, for whatever reason, many recordings of this area in Geneva, but as I've been around there for quite many times, I do kind of know how it looks. Now, we can't exactly recreate everything, but one element I do want to recreate, and that is basically Geneva Airport does have these baggage belts, or these retrieval areas I mean, it's not unusual, many airports have them, but basically these belts where you retrieve your luggage are placed in the middle of the room, and the luggage is basically fed from a system that is coming from underground. Again, this is not really unusual, many airports have that, but many airports that I have built so far, I have basically been feeding these belts from where passenger have retrieved their luggage by simply having the luggage system behind some walls, and then that way fed the retrieval belts. Let's call them retrieval belts, why not? But I do also want to have some of these retrieval belts that are basically slap bang in the middle of a room, and where the luggage is coming from underground and then enters these belt systems. So yeah, that's what I want to build here as well. So we have both variants, but basically the ones in the middle very much inspired by how it actually looks in real life in Geneva. Now, just as in real life, it is of course not enough that you just have these belts and the baggage retrieval areas. You do also need to make sure that you cater to the needs of your passengers. And in this case, I'm not just talking about bathrooms, although that would be very prudent to have, given that pretty much all passengers will go through this area, and many of them will also be waiting here for their luggage. But yeah, as I say, I'm not just talking about bathrooms, but we need to make sure that we cater to all the needs the passengers have. So we need, of course, a lot of benches, but we should also make sure that we perhaps cash in a little bit on the fact that passengers are spending a lot of time around here. So that means, for example, we should build some shops, some stores. I think we will build like one shop and one cafe, so that we again cater to both needs that passengers might have. They might want to buy some duty-free stuff, and of course also might want to eat something, and then given that we will build some bathrooms, they might be able to relieve themselves later. But yeah, and of course with the benches, again, they can rest while they're waiting for their luggage. So hopefully this will end up being the best possible luggage retrieval area we can build in the game. Now, before we can in any way, form or shape think about having aircraft coming into our airport, we of course need a tower, because without the tower we can't open up our runways and we can't open up our airport. So we urgently need to place that down. And now that that is done, we of course have to think about what aircraft should we get in firstly. Now, I don't think we will manage to get the first commercial passenger aircraft coming in today's episode, but I think we should start off with general aviation, because that always gives you a good idea, or at least a first idea of how your airport is running, and if at least the most basic things are working. And of course, it also gives you the opportunity to spam me in the comment section below with all your suggestions for airlines that we should sign in the coming episodes, because we have now really laid down the groundworks and the foundation that we need so that we can sign our first contracts in the next episode and have our first commercial aircraft coming in. Now, while you already are thinking and hopefully already typing your suggestions for airlines that we should sign in the next episode, we do have a little bit of work to do over at our general aviation area, since we have aircraft coming in now, because I have made a little bit of a mess of it here. I need to fix a few things up. Mainly, for example, I have placed some general aviation stands far too close to some of the hangars, and even though the hangars will probably never be used in this gameplay, because in Sandbox the game doesn't really utilize this infrastructure, but nonetheless it should be possible for an aircraft to actually enter these hangars. and it isn't at the moment. So of course we need to fix these things up. And we also still need to build a few other things, like for example, de-icing pads. Now we have built it for our commercial aircraft, but we haven't built it for our general aviation. And I don't want the small general aviation aircraft having to go all the way over to the other side of the airfield, enter and potentially later block these de-icing pads. So I want them to stay over here at the general aviation area, get de-iced over here, and then take off from this tiny little grass runway as they would do in real life. Although I guess the small aircraft wouldn't really be de-iced, although I don't really know. But in any case, we need to make sure that we have this infrastructure in place, because after all, it is a game and we need to also follow the game rules. So with all that in mind and now done, it is time to end today's episode. As I mentioned, don't forget to spam me with your suggestions for airlines that we can sign in the next episode, so we can get going with our first commercial aircraft in the next episode. If you have enjoyed this episode, then I would of course be very happy if you would give it a like, and of course if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? That would be absolutely awesome. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.